Josh and Frankie. What a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, Primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations. There are many places to find Primus Tracks. The best place is right here on the podcast. Welcome. If you want the social media version of Primus Tracks, Instagram and Threads are your friends, and there's an email address, primustrackspod@gmail.com. There's actually one more social media friend, and that's Facebook. There's a Primus Tracks page there. I am Josh. I am one of the hosts of Primus Tracks. He hosts Primus Tracks from the 39th floor of Primus Tracks Towers in Mexico City. Luxurious accommodations for him as he looks out over the smog-filled skies of Mexico City. It's Frankie Bearstein.
Hey, Josh.
Welcome back, Frankie. Today we are talking about You Can't Tell Errol Anything. Anything whatsoever. Believe me, I've tried. This one, Frankie, is track 6 from the record. So as we finish this episode, we will be halfway through A Fungi and Foe.
Wow.
It just keeps rolling on.
Speeding through.
It feels like that. Before we get into today's track, Frankie, we have miscellaneous debris. And I hear we have a special birthday boy.
Primus Tracks Towers wishes to congratulate Les Claypool on his birthday.
Of course,
Les
that'll
Claypool?
be a belated birthday when this airs.
It is your belated birthday. Yes.
If I recall correctly, the man himself is the Colonel is 62.
Indeed.
Wow. Still plunking away at the bass after all those years. Good for him.
Amazing.
Yeah. Here's to 62 more. Speaking of the birthday boy, he wrote a little song called You Can't Tell Errol Anything, track 6 from your Of Fungi and Foe record from 2009. This track checks in at 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Your credits are as follows, Frankie. Les Claypool, who I think is related to Les Claypool, basses, vocals, and percussion, and Mike D on vibraphone. And that's it. These two guys created this track. Now, we've been cataloging throughout this record which tracks are related to the fungi element, that is the Mushroom Men video game, and the foe element, which is the Pig Hunt film. This is our second track in which the song has no affiliation, and so this one must have been a separate composition for the record. What do we know about this one, Frankie?
It was performed a fair share of times between 2009 and 2010. And actually, there's a video on YouTube. I think I told you about this before. There's a YouTube video where Maris Yahoo joined Les Claypool on stage for this song.
Oh, this is the one. Okay.
I've always wondered if Maris Yahoo picked that particular track because it was his favorite, or if Les felt that was a particular song that would benefit from his contribution.
It seems like a pretty lively number, so I wonder if that's the occasion for it, that there's space for somebody to lay down some vocals over it.
Yes, and at the time, when that took place, I think Maris Yahoo was not out of place with the overall vibe of the Fungi ensemble and the song. I think, as I told you on the previous episode, or a couple of episodes back, he has changed quite a bit. Not only in terms of his image, but his music has also changed quite a lot. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his output.
Well, when he was tooling around with the Fungi band, he certainly had the dirty hip-hop vibe to him, from what I recall. And then, as you suggested, he's now in his Mad Men mode. I don't know what his music sounds like, with that shift in image.
Yeah.
Have you heard it? Have you heard his music since he made this change?
Yeah, I've heard a few songs from his later albums, and I think his output is okay. I think it's all right for an artist to evolve, but I think Youth will always hold up as his best record.
Is he? What's he doing now? Light jazz?
The last song I heard was kind of adult contemporary pop.
No, oh really?
Pop oriented music.
Oh, fascinating. He certainly has gone on some kind of journey.
But I think I think he's still exploring reggae and those kinds of genres. But he's he has certainly changed, which is fine. The thing about Errol, which I think is interesting, is that unlike other Fungi songs, which were completely dropped from the set list, except for Amanitas, as we mentioned, that one came back. But the thing with Errol is that after 2010, it made a few surprise appearances here and there. So believe it or not, it got performed in 2011 at the Hopmonk Tavern.
2011, who was performing then?
Claytool, Jay Lane, Mike Dillon, Skerrick, Brad Hauser
Oh,
on
Hauser
baritone
was there.
saxophone. Yes, two saxophones on that show.
Oh, very cool.
And they performed Errol. And then, do you recall the first ever Bastard Jazz performance that took place at the San Francisco Civic Center?
I don't off the top of my head, but was that with Stanton?
So yeah, that was Stanton Moore,
Okay.
Mike Dillon, Skerrick, and Gabby Lala was a guest on one track.
Okay.
The thing about Bastard Jazz, we know that it's improvisational. There's no set list in the strict sense of the word, but they did jam a bit on Errol during that performance. So that goes back to 2017. And last performance to date, I mean, not the whole song, but it was teased again by Bastard Jazz at Napa in 2022,
Oh,
which means
wow.
that, yeah, which means that Errol has remained relatively fresh in Les's mind in recent years. There's definitely something about this song in particular that he enjoys. But I have something very surprising to share with you. Primus 2017, the festival pier in Philadelphia. Of course, Errol was not on the set list, but it was rehearsed prior to the show. And that's
But
a very interesting rehearsal.
what?
They went through, so bear in mind, this is Primus, right?
Yeah.
They went through Heart of the Sunrise, YYZ, Mr. Right, You Can't Tell Errol Anything, and then a few Primus numbers.
What in the world were they doing in
Yeah.
2017? That's nuts. Fascinating. That's the first I've heard of that soundcheck lineup. Wow, that's wild. It begs the question of how they jammed it out or performed it or what have you.
It is worth pointing out that it might be difficult to identify this because of the treatment of the instrument on the song, but Errol is actually an upright number. Had you noticed that before?
So there's the tripped out upright solo, but also the low register.
Yes,
Is that's the upright?
I was looking at live performances on YouTube, and he's playing the upright bass on this song.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's certainly running it through some dirty stuff to get that tone. I thought it was the upright initially for that low register bass line. As I was listening to this track in preparation for the first time in 16 years, Frankie, I was struck by that low register bass tone from that upright, and it reminded me of Elephant Ghost, which certainly has a similar sound to it. And it's thumping and it's low register and it's dirty, which I love from that upright.
And there's a motif throughout the song, right? I don't know if it's the upright or which particular instrument is doing that particular noise that is prevalent throughout the song. Do you know which one I'm referring to?
It's probably the upright in the upper register because there's a lot of bird call sounds and then that tripped
Yes,
out
exactly.
lick. Yeah, there's a lot of upright sounds on this one, and he's laying on the effects thick, so they're echoey, they're meandering, they're hanging in the air, so to speak.
Can you sample a bit of the track for the listeners?
I would be happy to actually. This record, Frankie, received a lot of comparisons to Tom Waits at the time of release and in subsequent years. I don't know if that was completely warranted in my re-listen until this track. This track to me sounds like it could fit on the Real Gone release from
Mm.
Tom Waits. Really, all that's missing is Casey Waits messing around on a turntable, and you're pretty close to approximating a track from Real Gone. The percussion loop, that dirty instrumentation, and of course, our nefarious subject from the lyrics in Errol. And this is, interestingly, Frankie, first of all, I had no memory of this track, and I really enjoy it.
I think things pick up very well with this song after Search George Martin.
Yeah, interestingly, the two tracks that we've sampled so far on the record that are not affiliated with video games or movies are the two that I'm holding up as the best of the record so far. And you're right, it does bring a bit of a bounce and a hop after George Martin. And lyrically, Frankie, it's a companion piece to George Martin to me, because in George Martin, Les is attempting to follow the seemingly contradictory advice that he's receiving from influential adults in his life, mom, dad, teacher, doctor, whereas Errol won't listen to anyone. So we have that irony here with the pairing of these two tracks. I find this track one that I believe I'm going to come back to more so than the others that we've listened to on this record so far.
What is it? So, what is it about this particular number that you find engaging?
I think it's a bit more up tempo, and I just think having that percussion and really low register upright as a foundation that keeps moving is really useful, because we've talked about some of these other tracks feeling sparse and not moving ahead, and Les even said this music oozed from him. So some of these tracks are oozing. This one moves a bit more than Molasses Uphill on a Cold Day. This one moves a bit, and I appreciate the vocal delivery and the tripped out upper register upright solo / lick that he plays. There's a lot to like about this one, and it just comes together for me as well. And so much like Red State Girl, which felt like a more cohesive song as opposed to the ones that were written for video game and movie. So I wonder if it's just the way that they were conceived and constructed differs. And what I mean by that is Red State Girl and this track, Errol, as opposed to the movie tracks and video game tracks.
Because I guess maybe he had to put in a little more effort to create songs from scratch, as opposed to the others where he just wrote lyrics for instrumentation which had already been recorded, right?
There's something to that, yeah. And so perhaps forcing those lyrics into those instrumentals was a different kind of task, and just writing a song and having some lyrics in mind, perchance for this one was more natural. This is all conjecture. We have an idea of the Primus and Les Claypool songwriting process, and it's a bit different than constructing something piece by piece and putting it together for something else, some kind of other release. I wanted to play a portion of the tune that I really enjoy, because the vocal delivery, that's another thing I really like, Frankie. The vocal delivery is really loose, but Les is hitting his marks. And what I mean by that is he's hitting the end of the bars, which is not unusual for him. But he unlocks his vocals from the rhythm of the song more often than not, and that provides that sense of flow. Here it is.
All trades, he'll work on damn near anything as long as he's paid. You got a project and he's quick to your aid. Just don't bitch about the service or critique the grade. Cause you can't tell Errol anything. Cause Errol knows everything.
So yeah, that high pitched thing I think is from the upright, and then that last iteration of "You Can't Tell Errol Anything" is really breathy and lower register for Les, and that's not a voicing that you hear all the time from him. So there's some things that are out there and newish, and that's mixing with just that backbeat of a sort from that percussion and vibraphone.
Yeah.
So that is what's really coming together for me. There was even, I don't know if you catch it in that verse, there's even a bit of a voice crack.
Yes.
From Les, which is always great when he artificially makes his voice crack.
The high pitch noise coming out of the upright is what immediately grabbed me the first time I heard this song. It makes it very distinctive, I think.
Yeah, it reminded me of when he brings out the upright on stage, and of course he always comes out doing the swinging the thing around with the mask on, and kind of dueling with the bow. But then he always goes above the nut and does those really high pitched noises, and just kind of gets us ready for the use of the upright. But he's always making those squealy, squeaky, squawky noises.
Do you remember how they came up with a coda for Vernon the Company Man during the Fancy Tour?
Yeah, I think we sampled that live, right?
Yes, and the same thing happened with Errol. They created a coda for the song for the live performances where the instrumentation becomes more lively. The drums kick it up a notch. I mean, it maintains the essence of the song, but it's more upbeat. You'll hear
Yeah.
it when we sample the live cut.
Oh, interesting. Because this one is pretty chill, as much of this record is, but it flows, and I just think once again that constant percussion certainly gives it that feeling of movement, and so I appreciate that in this one. I want to move ahead to listen to that tripped out upright section here. So he's doing that trilling on the upright. Really, really great stuff there. That's a lot of fun for me. It's just under 4 minutes, and it's a head bopper. So I'm really interested to hear that live cut in which they kick it up a notch, because this is one I can just bop my head along to for 4 minutes and be pretty happy with it.
And something that I find while listening to this song is that it is very evocative in terms of its character and imagery. Whereas
Yeah.
George Martin kind of takes you out of the record because it's a real person and Les is describing real life events. The cool thing about Errol is that it goes back into that sort of fantasy world that was prevalent throughout the record since the first song. It's back to characters. And what I find really cool is that the illustrations made by Travis Louis, I think they perfectly encapsulate the essence of those characters. So I don't know if you have seen a piece by Travis Louis where he did like a ton of characters on a single frame. It's a sequence where you can see like over 20 characters lined up
Oh,
in a
I'm not
single
familiar with that.
piece. Yeah, and all of them are very dapper, no, wearing suits, and they have bow ties, and their hair is flipped back. But the thing about those characters is that you could pick any random one, and it could be Errol, it could be the guy from Bread State Girl. I mean, it could be anyone from this record. So
Yeah.
the artwork goes perfectly well with the music.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that, and I'm building on that there's an element of fantasy and surrealism to the artwork as well as to some of the music and lyrics. And then to pull us out of that with George Martin to tell a kind of a straight ahead autobiographical moment in time is somewhat jarring, I suppose. And then this character, even though Errol is a very brown character, and I think you know where I'm going with that. It does put us back into more along the realm of fantasy fiction and so on, as opposed to just a straight ahead retelling of something. And I think I agree with you on that. The other thing, it doesn't pull me out. It's just an association I've always made with the name of this track as I think of Errol Flynn. Are you familiar with Errol Flynn?
Vaguely.
He is one of the biggest stars from the golden age of Hollywood. He was a massive movie star in that time period.
Can you quote some films?
He was in, God, what year? It was in the 30s. He was in Robin Hood. He was in a lot of those adventure movies of the time. I know him from the Robin Hood film, which I saw years and years ago. But he was just probably the biggest action star of his day. As you can imagine, he got pretty rich, but was terrible with his money, and he was an addict. You name it, he was probably addicted to it. I always make that association because I think, oh, big movie star, tons of money, doing drugs. I don't think he's going to listen to too many people either.
And we know that Les is a huge cinema fanatic, and he has quoted some classic films as ranking among his favorites. So you might be onto something.
Oh, I'm sure he's seen a lot of Errol Flynn films over the years. Those show up, I'm sure, on Turner Classic Movies or what have you.
So what's your take on these lyrics?
Well, as far as the lyrics go, some of this is standard fare by now, and that is by no means a negative. We have an unsavory character with a fatal flaw. In this case, it's always being right, or I suppose his hard-headedness at the least. I appreciate that at the outset, he is allegedly smart. You know, that Les in his lyrics says Errol's a smart kid. And then it comes back around, of course, with an ironic twist. He's allegedly smart, but not smart enough to know what he doesn't know, because he knows everything. You know, he can do that project without actually learning how to build whatever it is you're building. He can fix whatever it is that needs fixing without ever having fixed it before. He knows the vision for the prog rock band. I think that's my favorite verse in the whole thing. He knows, right? And nobody else knows anything. He's always right. And it reminds me, and I'm going to take everybody back to high school humanities, probably, with a quote attributed to Socrates by Plato, which is, "I know that I know nothing." And all Socrates was saying there was, I am this much wiser than everybody else because I know about my own ignorance, and they don't. And that is a mark of wisdom. Clearly, Errol does not have that mark of wisdom. So he slips up running weed. He does subpar work on those projects. Not that he would ever admit to it, of course. And he got in arguments with his bandmates over the direction of the band and then took his PA and went home. Which I'm sure Les knows guys who have done that over the years. And then brings back Errol the smart boy at the end and confirms that he wouldn't listen for shit. So there's a lot of great stuff.
That's something that I found very peculiar about the lyrics. The verses are quite extensive, but the chorus is so simple. It's 2 lines.
And that's not unusual for Les Claypool lyrics.
It's not unusual, and it's very effective as well. It's a great chorus, I think. You can't tell Errol anything, because Errol knows everything. It flows quite well.
Yeah, it's an easy rhyme with thing, anything, everything, but it works very well. You're absolutely right. You can't tell him anything because he already knows everything. The end. There's
a parallel between this character and the character in the last song that closes the record, Roscoe. We'll get to that when we speak about the song, but essentially both characters could be the same in terms of their attitude towards life.
I don't remember Roscoe.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
we'll get there.
We'll get to that one. Yes, but remember Errol and Roscoe.
You know, another
two peas in a pod.
You know, another line that jumped out at me from these lyrics is 20 pounds past the limit, 20 miles over the speed. I think that's really nice. Nicely written, nicely phrased, and for some reason, it sounds like something Dr. Seuss might write. I didn't go hunting down my old Dr. Seuss books to find whatever book had similar syntax to it, but that's where my mind went.
Maybe it's because of Les's background, but Errol said he was the jack of all trades, work on damn near anything just as long as he's paid.
Yeah.
It sounds like carpentry to me.
That would be on the menu for him, absolutely. You know, there's the elongated portion of that is jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that applies to Errol. You know, he can sort of do it, but he's certainly no expert, whatever it might be, electrical, carpentry, plumbing.
And if you take a glimpse at the last verse, Errol claims his business was fully legit. Swore up and down he'd never get beat. Great rhyme.
Yep.
but now incarceration has forced him to quit. This is another classic example of Les delivering a lesson, right,
Yeah.
in his songs.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Golden Boy, reminds me of other
Yeah.
songs where he sets up the background for the character, and then near the end of the song, that character gets served.
Sounds like Errol wasn't licensed and bonded if he's going to jail over his shoddy work. So he didn't do the legwork there. Didn't do his didn't do the things that would be useful for covering himself in those events. Once again, we're treading similar ground, and that is just fine. There's always another wrinkle to it. There's always something else you can mine from this kind of person, character trait. And you can, and that's kind of, take any author, right? Any popular author. In large part, they've told the same story in every book, but they're changing the names, they're changing the plot points, they're changing locations, what have you. You can boil it down. It's more or less the same story, but it's still entertaining because they know how to tell it. And that's, I think, one of Les's greatest strengths.
Yes, and it's interesting because the prog rock band and the weave, of course, it hints to something contemporary, right? Something modern. But
Yeah.
I think it's because of the instrumentation, the imagery of the record, and the overall vibe of the album that I don't envision Errol as anyone modern.
Oh, interesting. So you're couching him in 1897 Brown
Yes,
album
absolutely.
lyrics? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the prog rock band part was interesting to me too, because not that it was jarring, but because of the instrumentation is certainly not proggy, and this guy's got a PA and a prog band. Good for him.
Other
It
than
is strange.
Red State Girl and Boonville, which had music videos produced for them, and of course they stood out enough for Les to re-record them for the 4 Foot Shack album.
Yeah.
Other than those two, and Amanitas, of course, which he considered strong enough to also be performed by the Frog Brigade, the rest of the record has pretty much been relented to obscurity. So what do you think is about Errol in particular that lingered in Les's mind and compelled him to keep performing the track a few times after this album cycle was considered finished?
I do wonder if it's the lyrical content that's stuck in his head. Maybe he really likes the rhythm and meter of it, and it just rattles around in there, and every once in a while he just wants to spit it out on stage. That's what I think. I could be completely wrong. That the percussion pattern is not complicated, and so you can hear that percussion pattern, on different gear. So if somebody's playing a drum kit, they can play a similar pattern, and maybe that sparks the memory for him too. That
Or he might
makes that
also
association.
enjoy performing it on the upright, right? Maybe a
Absolutely.
fun song for him to play.
Could be that too. We know he loves his upright, and we love it too. We've talked about it enough, Frankie. Ah, yes. Those beautiful tones, not from an upright bass, could only mean one thing, Frankie. It's time for Primate's Takes. If you want your take on the track up for discussion, read right here on the podcast, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. This is the universal constant over there, no matter what tier or level or whatever the hell it is they call it over there. Our pal Johnny Perona, who created the Primates Take song that you're hearing right now, says, Errol is a fantastic track. I put it on at band practice years ago, and the drummer said that it sounded like the background track in a movie scene where people are cutting up heroin in a dimly lit room. There's a cool version on YouTube of them doing this with Modest Yahoo that's worth 6 to 7 minutes of your time. There you go. So Johnny knows of the Modest Yahoo cut. Interesting that Johnny's bandmate, that is, made the comparison to a movie scene, because we've got a handful of songs on this record that are straight out of movie scenes. Ethan from Kentucky says, really big fan of Errol. This one has even made it to my daily playlist. The only thing I feel this song is missing is a sick slide whistle solo. That'll be on the 30th anniversary remix that Frankie is overseeing. Eric in Australia, who has been bright, bubbly, and sunny up to this point, says, contrasting with my less favored tracks on the album, Errol is an absolute cracker. Haunting in tone, lyrically and vocally dark as the inside of a juice bottle bong stashed inside a tackle box. Breathy and ethereal, a foe of imposing lackadaisical disdain. Well, that was poetic. Thanks, Eric. Goodness. Eric's volume of poetry will be out next year. And John Shreve sums it up this way. Errol doesn't really require comment, right? Shots fired. Live cuts.
A jam vehicle.
Live cuts. The jam vehicle. Live cuts.
What's going on here?
I'll tell you what's going on here. It's live cuts of You Can't Tell Errol Anything. And believe me, I've tried. We have 2 live cuts today, Frankie. One is from 2009 at summer camp. The other is 2010 at an undisclosed location. Must be from Frankie's box set. Let's go to summer camp first. And I would imagine that the summer camp recording is available on Toaster, correct?
Correct.
Excellent. And are you going to comment on the envelope delight underneath that?
Absolutely heavenly.
Let's move ahead in summer camp and hear some vibraphone. This actually sounds somewhat chill live, and this one feels about the same tempo as album recording, so it's pretty nice and laid back there in that live setting. Let's move forward to our mystery show in 2010 and hear the intro to that one. I heard a yeehaw. Frankie's giving the stink eye to those people that are talking, by the way. That sounds nice and dirty. For your special treat, let's hear how they rounded this one out live. I foresee a trip-hop remix of Errol.
So what do you think about this coda?
I like it. I like that they incorporate the kit and make it a bit louder. I think at least on this recording, it sounds like there's a bit of a limitation to how you can really raise the dynamic with the instruments that are at hand to match the energy of that drum kit. But I think, I recall from seeing them in 2009, that wasn't an issue. So I think it's just a product of that recording. But it sounds good. I like that lively ending.
And the upright sounds fantastic.
I do say it does.
Perhaps, it could be that we have heard, they're great songs. I'm not complaining, they're great, but perhaps it could be that we've heard Gillies and Crinkle and these songs so many times that when we hear a different upright number, we tend to get very excited.
Absolutely. That upright comes out. It sparks the guessing game when the upright comes out as well. And so you have a pretty good idea of what's coming if you're at a Primus show. If you're at a Les Claypool show, you probably have a decent guess. But it's always exciting to see the first note that he bows because very soon after what you're about to get. And it matches, that release, it matches the anticipation. And so it's a joy.
Yeah.
Well, I can say, Errol, I'm telling you this. You've been tracked. Next time, Frankie, we've ended side A of your Fungi and Foe vinyl release.
Time to flip the record.
So we're flipping it over, and then we're going to take a bite out of life.
Excellent.
Delicious. Dare I say, steamy. Primates, primatrons, people of Earth, thank you all so much for listening and for your support. If there's an Errol in your life, don't bother. Let him learn the hard way. Later days.
Willie Mays.